Hello and welcome to Focus on Education. I'm Jill de Villiers. A new Centre for Australia-Africa Relations was launched at the Australia-Africa University's Network Africa Forum held at the University of Pretoria. The centre was formally launched by Curtin University's Vice-Chancellor, Professor Harleen Hayne. She joins me now along with two of her colleagues, Professor Lina Pelliccioni, PVC and President at Curtin Mauritius, and Associate Professor David Mickler, Dean Global Africa at Curtin University. Thanks very much for coming to the studio. I'd like to start with you, Professor. Tell me why you're in South Africa. What are you doing?
Thank you so much, Jill, and thank you for taking time to speak to us today. Well, we're here to launch the Centre as part of this annual event that happens each year with respect to our African Australian Universities Network. So it was a great day for us yesterday where we finally signed the Centre into action, and we had the opportunity for me, the first time, to meet many of my African colleagues here.
So I'd like to come to you, David. Tell me a little bit more about the centre. Sorry, Professor.
Thank you, Jill. It's a really exciting opportunity, I think, not only for Curtin University, but for Australia more broadly. We've got a new government in Canberra, which has signalled the reinvigoration of Australia-Africa relations. And so this is a very good sign, I think, for all of us who have been working in the space of trying to build partnerships across the Indian Ocean. For us, being based in Perth, facing Africa, facing the Indian Ocean, we have always had a strong sense of engagement with the region. And one of the challenges has been a lack of infrastructure in place in Australia to really help us build these partnerships. So with the Australian government's support in the sense of rebuilding the relationship from the government to government level, we would like to come in and now have a platform to promote academic cooperation between Australia and Africa as part of our wider network. But also drawing on a lot of the expertise we have within Curtin across lots of different disciplines that is engaged with Africa through our staff, through our students, through our different researchers, and of course through our campus that we have in Mauritius, which is the only Australian university campus based in Africa. So we're really excited to launch this as a platform to promote the wider engagement between our continents.
So Professor Pelliccioni, tell me a little bit about the Mauritius campus. How long has it been operating? How long have you been there?
Oh, thank you so much. Well, we've had a very strong connection with Mauritius and the African region for the past 19 years, but we have been a branch campus for the last 5, and I'm very proud and very privileged to be the inaugural Pro-Vice Chancellor. So it's a beautiful campus situated in a very beautiful island. Our real strength and some of our real signature uniqueness is around our industry connectedness.
So your curricula, are they dependent on your relationship with industry? Do you change your curricula accordingly?
Well, I think what's really important is that our courses are exactly the same as our courses in Australia, because they're the same courses. But what we do in particular cases, we do contextualise them, and we also invite industry in often, not only through lectures, but to help develop and review curriculum as well. Because I think something that we also do extremely well is that we ensure that our courses are relevant to the region. So not only our courses, but also our research is actually focusing on what's appropriate, not only for Mauritius, but the African region. And our industry help us stay relevant.
Professor Hayne, do you have a lot of Africans living in Australia?
In fact, we have a large number of people from South Africa, particularly in Perth. So that's one of the things that we're trying really hard to do, is to reconnect with the diaspora. We obviously have a very close eye on our students at Curtin who are African in origin, but we have less of an eye on those people who are second and third generation Africans. So part of the centre's work will be around pulling all of those communities together so that we can do more building of the community in Australia, and particularly in Western Australia where we're located.
Professor Mickler, a little bit earlier we were chatting and you were saying that while South Africans are very aware of Australia, the Australians aren't necessarily so aware of Africans.
No, that's right. So the centre itself will have a really important role in building what we call Australia's Africa literacy. In other words, knowledge and understanding of the other. And what has been a problem in Australia has been that lack of knowledge of the African continent has led to people drawing on stereotypes, often quite negative stereotypes of Africans living in Australia, which don't actually correspond to the nature of the diaspora, which is a very highly skilled diaspora, very engaged politically, economically, socially, culturally in Australian life. So the centre will provide a platform for public discussions, public knowledge building, so that we can actually raise the level of knowledge of Africa within Australia. And we would hope that that would also, in a reciprocal sense, raise the profile of Australia in Africa. And as the Vice-Chancellor said, we work very closely with African communities. In fact, this Saturday we'll be hosting the major Africa Day Community Festival on campus back in Perth. And that's a partnership with the main diaspora community organisation based in Perth. So we try to integrate a lot of the activities that we do with the communities. And we've seen the really important role that diaspora communities can play to support our African students when they come quite a long way from Africa to Australia. Connecting them up with the different community organisations for our students provides an extra layer of support for their studies in Australia. So it's a really reciprocal relationship that everybody benefits from.
So science is also very important. If we look at one of the scientific projects that Curtin is involved in, and that is also quite big for South Africa, is the Square Kilometre Array.
Absolutely.
Tell me a little bit about that.
Okay, so I am not a radio astronomer, I am a psychologist, so I'm going to do my best here. The SKA is often described as the world's largest science project. And it's really a group of individuals, scientists from 16 different countries. Two of the most important countries, however, who are participating in the SKA are Australia and South Africa. And in both of those locations are state-of-the-art radio telescopes that are collecting information from the universe that is literally billions of years old. So the purpose of the SKA is to bring together the wisest minds across all of these nations to try to understand where the universe came from, to understand dark matter. So these are some of the fundamental questions about humanity and where we came from that can only be addressed by these bilateral and multilateral scientific cooperation systems. And Curtin is very, very proud to be one of the anchor participants in the SKA. Our radio telescopes are located in the Murchison, which is on the northern part of Western Australia, and it's a beautiful place to put telescopes because it's dark sky and it has very little radio interference from any other telecommunication. So it provides an outstanding place to collect information coming from the heavens, really. And the same thing here in South Africa. The radio telescopes are located in places that are where there's no interference from humans. So that
Peru,
exactly,
very, very quiet and meerkat,
which is very similar to the Murchison. So it's a partnership that has it's still in its infancy, but this project will go on for a very long time.
So talking about scientific things, what is important to bring to Africa through your centre in terms of science?
So one of the really exciting first projects that we actually launched yesterday as part of the launch of the centre was a project called Science Diplomacy. This is actually building on an initiative by the South African government where they've designated Pretoria as the science diplomacy capital of Africa. And so we are really keen to work with them and with the University of Pretoria to really think through how we can use science cooperation across international borders through diplomacy to really tackle some of these big scientific challenges, global development challenges. So that's a really useful platform for us to explore which of those particular scientific challenges are the most relevant in the Australia-Africa context. And there's a lot of interesting similarities, for example, on the impacts of climate change. We've been noting since we've been here the similarities in the climate and some of the environmental aspects of South Africa and Western Australia. So areas like agriculture and food security, climate change, obviously mining and natural resources, clean water. These are all areas where there's a lot of expertise on both sides, but also a lot of demand for scientific collaboration across borders to help solve these common problems.
And Mauritius, we're
really proud to say that come September we'll be launching a Centre of Marine Science, and of course it's a huge area of need. The blue economy is absolutely essential to a place like Mauritius. So we're working really closely with some partners in Mauritius to actually launch this centre, but we have our most amazing Professor Christine Erb, who actually already runs a centre in Perth. So she's actually going to be spending a fair bit of her time also in Mauritius to actually work in that space.
We are still growing on the African continent in terms of developing the kind of systems and the accessibility of technology, and then AI is coming up and becoming more and more important. How does that fit into your centre?
Absolutely, and Curtin is obviously a university that has a long heritage of being based on innovative technology and using technology in our research and in our teaching and learning. So we have a strong foundation. I think these are challenges that are facing everybody globally. The use of AI, for example, in our student essays is something that we're all very concerned about, but also the potential of AI to be a really valuable learning tool. So what's really important for us is to learn from how this is playing out in different contexts, our context, different African contexts, and how we can come up with common solutions to some of these challenges. One of the approaches that we're taking is to really draw on the next generation, and we've actually just come from a session this morning which we've been convening called the Emerging Leaders in Australia-Africa Diplomacy Program, and this is 20 to 35-year-olds who are either working in the ministries, foreign ministries, or aspiring to be diplomats. And what we're trying to get them to do is to network with one another, but then look at the common challenges that we're facing across technology, AI, climate, and actually work together as the next generation to try and come up with some solutions to these problems.
Fantastic. So are you also building in Mauritius that next generation of new leaders?
Oh, absolutely. I think at the moment we can't produce enough graduates to actually meet industry needs. So I think that's something that we're certainly working very hard. We have a very great connection with our Perth colleagues and with our colleagues in Dubai. And so we tend to also work on some collaborative projects. So our students have the opportunity to have that connection with other lecturers from other campuses, but also other students.
Having had the opportunity of meeting students across all of our campuses at Curtin, one of the things that's really struck me, which struck me yesterday when I was meeting African students, is that young people, no matter where they are, they're more similar than they are different. And this generation of students is highly committed to getting a great education and a good job, but they're also really committed to making the world more fair and just. So I'm really hopeful that some of the things that we do at the center will continue to put these bright, articulate young people together. They'll do a much better job with the globe than we did, that our generation did. And certainly the African students that I met yesterday and that I've met on our Mauritius campus will be at the front of that pack of people who are trying to solve these big challenges.
I wish you the greatest luck and success with it going forward.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. So that brings us to the end of this show. Thank you to my guests, Professor Harleen Hain, Vice-Chancellor of Curtin University, Professor Lina Pelliccioni, PVC and President at Curtin Mauritius, and Associate Professor David Mickler, Dean Global Africa at Curtin University. And thank you for watching. See you soon.